Lunch with Lee was recorded at Hive Sound Studios, Sydney's newest podcast, recording and all audio hub. If you have any recording needs, go to their website, Hive Sound Studios.
Hello and welcome to Lunch with Lee. I'm your host Shane Lee. Today on the show, Leila McKinnon, an Australian journalist and television presenter. She's worked on 9 News, A Current Affair, Weekend Today, and a co-host on the Australian Ninja Warrior. That's big brownie points with the kids. She's an author, she's a mother of 2, a passionate skier and a keen golfer. Welcome, Leila.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I'll ask you more about your golf soon. I'm keen to hear about that. And Darryl Brohman, a former professional rugby league player playing 114 first-grade games for Penrith and the Canterbury Bulldogs. He also played 2 State of Origins for the mighty Queensland. Post-career, he's worked in radio on the Continuous Call team on 2GB. He's hosted the NRL Footy Show. He's a model, albeit with lows. He loves a punt, he's a good laugh, and he's a father of 2 girls. Welcome, Darryl.
Hello, everyone. How you going?
Good, mate. You two have worked together on the Footy Show, haven't you, Leila?
Yes, yeah, we had a great time. To hear him described as a model is hilarious, though.
Why is that hilarious? Been a model for 30 years.
He has.
Okay, I'll give you that. It's absolutely technically correct. But yeah, we did the Footy Show a few times together back in the day, and there was one night that I still laugh about. Fatty and the big man, we had a meeting before the show, and they were going to have to put their hands in tanks full of snakes and spiders in the dark to get money out for a charity. So they were in a packing container in the dark.
Yep.
But the cameras the infrared cameras could see them. And Fatty was so unhappy in this meeting beforehand, and he kept saying to the EP, "Mate, what if I get bitten?" And the EP's like, "Oh no, mate, no, you'll be right. We've timed the distance to the hospital. Like they've got, antivenom. You're fine." And remember that, big man? It was so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Glenn was hilarious, the EP, and Fatty was seriously unhappy. Big man was just like going along with it. And but what they did was they took all the snakes and spiders out of the tanks and put pipe cleaners and
thank goodness.
sausages and stuff, but they didn't know. And the footage of them sticking their hands in and feeling things and squealing and jumping around, it's the best thing you could watch. It's hilarious.
Well, Leila, it was scary. I mean, the darkroom challenge wasn't much fun. Let me tell you, we did a lot of stupid stuff on that great show, and that was up near the top of it. I mean, you were going into rooms where you couldn't see anything, and you didn't know what was in there. And in the end, they had like cane toads and just all slimy, yucky stuff in there, and it wasn't much fun.
No.
How many years did you do the Footy Show for, Darryl?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't really know. I reckon I was probably there 10 or 12 years on and off. I was there for a while, then I stopped being used, and then I went back again later on. So it was, mate, I loved it. Fatty. I mean, Glenn was, he did a great job running it, but Fatty was the Footy Show. And
He was, yeah.
as soon as they got rid of it and Fatty, that was obviously going to be the end of it. They'd never be able to do it with anyone else, I don't think.
No, I agree. Darryl, I mentioned at the start, mate, you're a father of 2 girls, so it is true. It's proof that athletes have girls.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I've had this argument with many people who can't have a girl, and I've just pointed out they need to look after themselves a bit better. Just sometimes people just have a really poor respect for their body. And I've become a model, father of girls. I'm just basically a machine. In that
You've probably
area.
had a longer modelling career than, some of the greats. Kate
How
Moss
many
and
have you
that.
got? Have you got kids?
Oh, you got 3, yeah.
Girls?
2 girls and a boy.
Yes, you're an athlete. Leila?
I've got a boy and a girl.
A bit each way.
My mate Brad McNamara used to say, when I had 2 girls, he used to call me Raylene Boyle, 2 silver medals. I was a bit unfair. I love my daughters. Leila, you've been a journalist for a while now. Was journalism always going to be your path in life?
Yes, I've been a journalist for 30 years, and I did a journalism degree because I was good at English at school. I really, my passion was history. I wanted to do history, but I also wanted to earn a living. I didn't feel like there were so many opportunities for me. So I went into journalism, and my grandfather was a really prominent journalist and the head of the journalism union and a reporter for AP. And
Wow, okay.
and so I've really loved every minute.
So it's in your blood.
Yes, for sure.
And Darryl, when you were growing up, was footy your path? Were you good at school?
I never expected to get involved in footy professionally outside of the game itself.
Right.
I was in the bank. I worked in the bank for a number of years. I started in Queen Street in Brisbane in those days it was the Wales Bank. Now it's the Westpac. And then I got a transfer when I signed with Penrith. I got a transfer down and still worked for them. Like in my day when I was playing, most players had jobs still.
Yeah.
It wasn't fully professional. It was sort of a gig. But in saying that, it ended up being okay financially. Like, mate, we weren't getting the money they get today, obviously. I mean, I think the most I ever got was about $30,000 a year, which is, well, I mean, the minimum payment now I think is $80,000 for a first grader. So, but that's, it's all relative. In those days, things were a bit cheap. You could buy a house for, $50,000 or $60,000 or under 100 anyway.
30K goes a long way at Lowe's.
Well, mate, I wasn't linked with Lowe's at that stage, so they missed out on that. Mate, 30,000, you could nearly buy the whole shop at Lowe's.
Exactly right, mate.
Today, I've actually went to Lowe's today. I finally found a card where I get it for nothing. It's magnificent. I'm very, very happy with Lowe's.
And Leila, you were born in Iran.
Yes, my father was a Rolls-Royce mechanic, and he was employed by the Shah of Iran to look after his garage. Yeah, and so he went to Italy and learned how to repair Lamborghinis and all the fancy cars. And he used to pull up at parties in Tehran with these amazing cars and just empty the room of all the men. And so I was born there, and then they left pretty soon after. And I grew up in New Zealand, and Dad was a motor mechanic, and he had a mobile mechanic business, and he also worked security at the airport at nights. So it was kind of humble-ish upbringing, but yeah, it sounds very exotic to be born in Iran.
It does, yeah. I'm assuming the Shah would have had a few cars as well.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, Dad used to see them come up for auction every now and then. He told me a funny story. He went to France in the convoy of the Shah's, I think, brother, and Dad went along for the ride in case any of the cars broke down. And they were put up at a really fancy hotel in Paris called the Georges V. And my dad would have been like a late 20s Kiwi guy, roughish around the edges back then. And he was in the lift with an Iranian couple who obviously thought he couldn't speak Iranian. And they were having a big fight, and the husband was saying, you just go and spend my money, you're so shallow and pathetic, something along those lines. And she said, I wouldn't have to go looking for outlets if you could please me in bed or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And Dad said when he got out of the lift, he said to them, goodbye, I hope you sort out your problems in Iranian.
He didn't volunteer himself, did he?
He didn't mention that, but...
Okay.
Yeah. It's a very different mechanic, that one. Hey, hey, Darryl, so I want to ask you, the way the game is today, how physical it is, all this stuff around concussions. Have you got any sort of long-lasting traumas? Royce Simmons is actually my mum's first cousin. Yeah. I know what he's going through. How are you?
He's a great man. I played with Royce.
Yeah.
I love Royce. There's not a better bloke on the planet than him. Mate, I'm all right, but there are some times where whether it's the fact that I'm just getting older or not, but there are times where I do sort of have little blanks and forget names and things like that. I usually can remember events and stuff, but sometimes I forget names. And whether that's related to my time on the football field or not, Shane, I don't really know. I'm sort of a believer in a lot of people get dementia who didn't play rugby league, but I'm sure it doesn't help, all the knocks, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm pretty laid back about it all. I mean, I'm 68 now, so I've had a pretty good run, and I feel okay. I may not look so good, but I feel okay. But I think it's probably had some effect on me. But not a massive effect, But I spoke to Royce. I see Royce. Well, we catch up at least once every year before Christmas. Because he doesn't live near me, and I said to him about the dementia, etc., etc., and he said, look, I spoke to the doctor about it, and the doctor said, don't think you're going to beat this because you're not, because he looks pretty good, you know. And, he doesn't look a great deal. It doesn't look different. He doesn't speak any differently, but I think sometimes he just has a bit of a blank, and that's quite sad. But he's a great fella. I love Royce.
It's a real thing. I'm involved with a charity called Brain for Life, and it's a data-driven research charity to try and find those answers. As I said, my mum's first cousin was Roy Simmons. My grandmother passed away of dementia. I remember going to visit her in hospital, and the doctor said, do you know where you are? She said, yes, I'm in hospital. And do you know what hospital you're in? She said, Wollongong. He said, do you know what state you're in? She said, well, obviously not a very good one. Which is quite sweet, yeah.
Dementia's a big issue in community, isn't it? And I don't want to say too much about it because I don't know enough about it, but I know there's too many people dying of it. It's an awful disease, and the quicker they can find some way to try and stem the flow of it, the better for everybody.
Leila, do your kids play footy?
My daughter plays touch. My son's a gymnast. He's not a great team player because he's just there. He just socialises and does flips on the field, driving his dad absolutely mad because he just doesn't, when you just don't have a competitive spirit. But my daughter is a monster on the field.
Is she?
She's great. She's very competitive, very athletic. She comes off the field and she goes, "Hey, Mum, do you see that kid fall over?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "He didn't fall over. I got him."
How old is she?
She's 10.
That's great.
Oh, good on her.
Yes.
Good
Bring
on her.
up a strong woman there. It's really good to hear. Would you have any problem with her playing tackle?
No, I wouldn't. I love watching the girls' games, and I think, I'm pretty impressed by the changes that have been made. The timeouts and the doctors making decisions. It's not perfect, but if she wanted to play, I saw the girls at the Olympics in Paris playing in the sevens, and they're just so impressive and athletic.
So good,
and I think it's great for women too. I think it's great for people to see, whether it's young women or anybody, that women's bodies aren't just there to be looked at. It's not.
I agree.
It's not. So to see all of those incredible athletes with all these different bodies, and them just owning it with confidence, it's really great. And if that's something she wanted to do, I'd be behind it.
Yeah, well, my middle daughter Abby, she plays tackle rugby.
Oh, does she?
And I found it really hard to watch at first, but I love it now.
Yeah.
She gets right in there
Really?
too. It's good. Yeah,
How old is she, mate?
she's 14.
Would you be happy for her to make a career out of it if she?
If she wanted to, she's into rowing that as well. But look, it's up to her. But as I said to her, if you're going to do it, you got to train hard and make sure you're fit, because a lot of it's even a lot of kids now. You're seeing a lot of the Polynesian kids are so much bigger, particularly at a young age. So you either got to be fast or you got to be strong.
I actually watch a lot of the NRLW because it's obviously on before the boys play on many occasions, and I do since the start of that, which is probably about 6 or 7 years ago now. The improvement's been incredible in what the girls have done. The fitness levels is one thing. Not that I should spruik about that, but they do need to be fit, and they are fitter. They're more skillful, and it's a really pure game. There's not the little hold down tactics and niggle that you get in the men's game. I'm not saying it's better than the men's game, but I'm saying the improvement in the NRLW, I think, has been immense over the last few years.
It's huge, and it's not as over-engineered as a lot of men's sport now.
No, it's not, and it's not the little niggly stuff that goes on, behind the scenes. It's quite pure, and that's what I look. If you ask me, what would you rather watch, a women's game or a men's game? I'd say men's. I'm trying not to be sexist there, but that's just me. I've been brought up with it, and I've watched it for years and years and years. But I think the improvement level in the women's is quite significant.
You mentioned little niggles behind the scenes. The Panthers and the Raiders just got on a plane to go to Vegas today, 10 days before the start of the match. What could go wrong?
Well, nothing will go wrong, mate. I'm actually going over on Monday, believe it or not.
Are you really?
I take a tour over. And
You love a tour, don't you?
well, yes, I do. You're right. But we're working as well. I'm working for 2GB, and we're calling, I think 2 games on the Sunday over, which is here, I think. I can't remember, my time zones are all stuffed up. But and then we do a show in a room in Vegas time on Friday night, which equates to Saturday afternoon in Australia. Mate, It's hard work. There's about 4 of us sitting in just a room by ourselves, just talking crap, about anything, like our adventures in Vegas, which now that I'm a bit older, my adventures have diminished to nothing, basically. Don't have a drink now.
While we're talking footy, quick tips for this season. Who's going to be your top 4?
Well, the obvious ones are Melbourne and Penrith, and I think they probably will finish there, even though Penrith have lost some very good players. They've lost a lot of, we say it the last 3 or 4 years we've been saying it, but they've lost Jared Hargreaves, Fisher Harris. He's gone. He's a rock in their side. They've also lost Luai, who's one of their halves, and he's a good player. The winger, Tarava, I think his name is. They've lost a few players, but they're such a great club. If they stay fit and healthy, they'll be there. I think Melbourne will be there. They've got some superstars. Look, I'm a Brisbane boy myself, and I think the Broncos will be in the 4.
I think they will.
On paper, they've got an excellent side. And I think the Sharks will improve a little bit. I think the Sharks are one of those sides that are always hanging around there, but they just can't go to the next level. I'm not saying they'll go to the next level this year, but I think they'll be a good enough side to make the top 4. So that's my 4.
And Leila, are you a rooster like your husband David?
Yeah, it's kind of not optional.
Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. And, because I grew up in New Zealand, I was always an All Blacks fan. And so when I moved over here, I was happy to adopt the Roosters. But Fitzy's looking good and doing a good job at the Sharks, isn't he? I think I could see him, maturing into a really great coach.
I think he will. I'm interested in you and David. I mean, how's he going, Ginge? I haven't seen him for years. The last time I saw him was at a ski lodge when we were doing the footy show down in the slopes somewhere, and he'd had a couple of drinkies that night.
Yeah, and it only takes one. He's not a big drinker. He's great. He said to give you his love. He asked me not to throw him under the bus today. Normally, if I talk on a podcast or say anything, I'm bound to say something that'll get him into trouble or get him in the newspaper. But he's great. He's really well. He had a heart attack like 4.5 years ago. I
was going to ask you about that. How's his health?
Yeah, he did, and he plays this sort of footy on the beach with all the guys up here, Pat Rafter and a few of the a big crew down the beach, and they play with the Vortex, with the propeller on the back, and he was out there playing in a sort of end of season game, and he said he actually remembers dying. Like he went he went down on the sand, and he thought, I could be in trouble here, and then he said it just backed off, and he came home and told me about it, and I said, well, what are you doing here? We've got to go to the hospital. And he went down to the hospital, and the nurse rang me and said, yes, he's having his whatever test they did said he's having a heart incident. And I said to her, could he still die? And she said, there was this pause. And she said, he's in the right place. Which
means yes.
Yeah. And so they took him up to another hospital, operated on him, put in the stent. Everything's amazing. He's perfectly healthy now. He's on all the right drugs. But he went to have a checkup the other day, and the doctor just said, I can't explain it. I can't believe you're still here. You are the luckiest man I've ever seen. And that's coming from a heart doctor who sees this every day.
Geez,
so
see all sorts.
So we never take it
for
for
granted. Go get your heart checked, everyone. Like after Shane Warne thing, and our whole family got a heart check. It doesn't take long. Go and get it done. Go and get it checked, because
David
you never know.
Warney, we ran into him just before the Australian Open, which was a couple of weeks before he died, and he said, "Mate, get your heart checked," because it wasn't that long after David's, And Warnie said, yeah, I'm getting fit. I'm going to Thailand. I'm, on a diet or whatever. And then the next thing we heard the news. So yeah, it could strike at any time. So yeah, I'm so traumatized by it, and I'm always saying to people, get it checked.
Yeah, I'm touching wood here.
Yeah.
Lady, Darryl mentioned before seeing David down at the ski lodge. You're a mad skier. Have you had a big stack?
Yes.
And the pins in your leg?
I do. I do like to ski. It's a treat for us. If we can get there every couple of years or every year, it's amazing. So we went through the pandemic, and David sold the pub. We had a pub up here, and we thought, let's have a really great, we've been locked up, the kids are a good age.
Yep.
So we went to America. We were in Colorado, and I went out, and David just charges up and down the mountain, up and down and up and down. And I was like, I wouldn't mind a hot chocolate, but no, we kept going. And then I just had this awkward moment, and I landed on my straight leg, and my thigh bone hammered through my knee and knocked down like a cobblestone in my tibia. I did my tibia plateau, but I didn't realize. And I'm tough. I'm pretty tough. I'm a Kiwi Queenslander, tabloid reporter. I'm tough.
No method.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so I skied down to the chairlift and got on the chairlift and skied to the restaurant, sort of not knowing I'd broken my leg because I wanted to have a whiskey. And then
fair enough too.
I was like, I don't care if it's in a coffee, just give me a whiskey. And then
give me something strong.
They put me in the banana. I couldn't get my boot back on. They put me in the banana stretcher and went to take me down the mountain.
Slide you down, yeah.
David had never.
What's a banana stretcher?
It's like two guys with
like a
sled
thing
between them, and you have to get locked into it. And David has never taken a photo in his entire life. He's never used the phone app on his camera. Suddenly, he's taking all these pictures and laughing his head off. And the guy said to me,
he's a good husband.
Yeah. And the guy said to me, how old are you? So then that just set David off because I was like, oh my God, the final indignity. And then David yells out, and how much do you weigh? And so we've got this great picture of me lying in the stretcher and just giving him the finger. And I said to the kids,
true love.
When I die, don't use a pretty photo on my funeral program. Use that one of me down and out and giving David the finger because, that's how I see myself.
That is so good. Hey, Dale, I was going to ask you, who were your sporting heroes growing up?
The number one was Arthur Beetson, mate. I was mad on the football. Rugby league was always something I wanted to be good at and wanted to participate in. And Arthur Beetson in those days was he's still a Queensland legend. And I actually saw him play. I think he played a grand final in 1965 for Redcliffe in Brisbane, and I was up there then. 65, oh God, that's 60 years ago nearly now. Anyway, it's a long time ago. And he
before decimal currency.
Yeah, while I was there, mate, it was at Lang Park, and he just made an immediate impression on me. And I always loved Arthur Beetson, and I was lucky enough to be coached by him in my first State of Origin game, where he basically went out on a limb to select me, and I've always appreciated that. And mate, I loved Arthur. He was a great player, but a good man too, and he was my idol growing up. Cricket-wise, I loved the cricket. I was a Queenslander. In those days, Queensland couldn't win a Sheffield Shield, as you know. And then they eventually did a little bit of something that they didn't normally do. They started buying blokes from other states and overseas. Like Greg Chappell became my idol. I loved Greg Chappell. And we used to go, Dad used to take me to the Gabba quite regularly, and I'd go and watch Greg Chappell. There's a couple. He was the great West Indian batsman. Not Clive Lloyd, it was the other one.
Richards.
Viv Richards played there. You believe that? Viv Richards played for Queensland?
Absolute legend. He had a good time too, apparently.
Apparently so, but mate, they were great days. And I remember Sam Trimble, who was there. We've lost Leila. Hello, Leila, come back in, champion. I don't know where she's gone. She's done it a bit. They've got to go and run Channel 9, mate. It's got to do a current affair. Something, but anyway, mate, Arthur Beetson football-wise, without a doubt.
Mate, he's absolute. Well, I got to meet Viv a few times, and I tell you what, that guy oozes charisma.
Well, he got a bit of swagger about him, didn't he? He had that when he walked out, when he walked off. He looked like nothing nothing worried him. But what a player
They reckon
he was.
at the Commonwealth Games when cricket was in there, Viv was the coach of Antigua, and Australia bowled at Antigua for about 58 or something.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any change rooms, they just had like tents, and Viv's going, We've got the runs. They've still got to get them on. We've still got to get them on. We've got the runs. And Michael Bevan goes, shut the fuck up. And it just goes quiet. And Viv came around in front of the tent and goes, who the big man behind the canvas? And no one said a word.
Really? Well,
Yeah,
mate, he'd be the king over there. Is he still? He's still alive, isn't he, Viv?
Yeah, still alive.
Do you know where he lives?
I think he's in Antigua, yeah.
Really? He'd be the king, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he's probably pretty much the king, yeah.
What a player.
I think the government bequeathed him some land there, so
Okay.
yeah, as an
He's
absolute
done
legend.
right.
I ask everyone that comes on the show, Darryl, I'll ask you first. A young boy or girl wants to go into make a career in sport. What advice are you going to give them?
I think listen to your parents first of all. I mean, I'd say that in just about no matter what they're going to do, listen to your parents.
Okay.
But also, from my perspective, don't just rely on your skills. Like, get yourself. You've got to be at the top level fitness-wise in any sport if you want to compete at the top. And no matter whether you're playing football, cricket, soccer, whatever you're playing, if you're not fit, you're going to struggle. And, that was, look back on my career, that's the one regret I have. Really, I don't have too many regrets, Shane, but if the one regret I do have was the fact that I didn't get myself fit enough, and I probably wasn't as dedicated to it as I probably could have been or should have been.
Mate, I resemble that remark.
Yeah, well, but it's hard. It's hard to, first of all, it's hard to get fit because of bloody hard work.
Yeah.
And it's constant. It's every day. It's not just every second day. It's every day you've got to do something. And I suppose you've also got to watch what you eat. And in this day and age, it's very different to what it was like in my day because, there wasn't such a focus on what you're eating. It was, as long as you're training hard, you can probably go and have a drink and eat whatever you really want, within reason. But these days, they are probably told exactly what they can and can't have, when they can eat. Then they train every day. It's bloody hard work, but they're professionals, and
They are.
that's probably the difference. We weren't professionals.
Well, my career spanned from 89 to 95. That was when it semi-professional. And I definitely put the semi in professional then. But 95 to 2001 when I finished was a lot more professional. So I sort of had the best of both eras, which was great.
You played test matches?
No, but thanks for bringing that up, Darryl.
No, sorry. I didn't play for Australia, so that helps.
Two World Cups.
You would have played like one days or something, wouldn't you?
I played 45 one days and played in 2 World Cups. So that was a big thing for me. I was.
Can I ask you about the test stuff? And you just look back on your career. Is that a regret?
It's not. I got called up for the 97 Ashes, and it was a bowl-off between myself and Sean Young for the last spot. And Mark Taylor said, I know you both can bat. Whoever gets the most wickets will play the next test. I took 4 for 32, and I think 4 for 40, 8 for the match. And he got no wickets, and Tubby picked him.
Man of his word, Tubby.
Fuck you, Tubby.
Tubby must have had the air conditioning on or something. What's he doing? I mean, that's outrageous. Are you dirty on Tubby, so or not?
I was a bit, but I think the way that I sort of think about it for myself, because I do your head in otherwise, but I just know that I was given the opportunity and I stood up. I did everything that I could, so I was really proud of that. It would have been nice, but if you only had balls, she'd be your uncle, as they say. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, I don't dwell on it. I would have loved to have got there myself, and you'd be the same.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and you had a pretty good career, mate.
Thanks, mate. Now, I was going to ask you about this CPAP thing that I've seen you doing these ads for.
So,
CPAP, great for allowing you to breathe. Probably not great for romance.
Well, mate, neither's having your prostate out. So, romance and me don't go hand in hand.
No.
like it's been a little while between drinks for me, like 15
Is that what they do? They
years or so.
pulled the prostate out and put the mask straight on you? Jesus.
I've been with Darling for a number of years, and the early days were good. Okay, early days were good.
Yeah.
But the last 10 sexually, well, not even 10, haven't been great. But I've learned to live without it. And geez, it shits me.
Leila, I ask everyone that comes on this show, I'll ask you for advice. If a young boy or girl wants to go into media, what advice would you give them?
I think I'd say people will tell you all kinds of bad things about how the industry is going nowhere and there's not many jobs, but they said that to me 30 years ago. And I know it's not perfect, but still, we're always going to want to know the news and we're always going to need content. And if that's something that you want to do, you should go for it.
So I want to thank you both for coming on the show. We're doing this via Riverside or Zoom. So I'm actually cooking at home, Darryl. So I have to take you out for lunch next time we catch up, mate.
Yeah, I'd love that, mate. I don't eat very much these days.
No, I'll start saving up for it.
Good. See you, mate. Pleasure to be on your great show.
Thanks, mate. Thanks very much, Leila.
Thank you. It's been so much fun.
Cheers, mate.
That's it for Lunch with Lee this week. A big thank you goes out to our guests, Leila McKinnon and Darryl Brohman. And thanks to our sponsors, Hive Sound Studios, Red Roo Vodka, Richard Bowman & Co. and VHS Media. Make sure you hit follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, where you get your podcasts from. And do us a favour, hit 5 stars. And while you're there and you're passionate, please leave a review. And come check us out on Instagram at I'm at Lunch with Lee. Our official Lunch with Lee photography was done by Felicity Kelly. You can find her on Instagram at Felicity Kelly Portraits. And once again, thanks to our producer, Dan McHugh. We'll be back next time with some more cracking episodes of Lunch with Lee. We'll see you then.